Welcome back to my channel. You already know it's your boy Hood Diggity, the Rock Reactor, back with another video. Yes, sir. Before I proceed, let me know where you tapping in from. Let me know what country, what city, what mountain, what hill, what cave, what island, what planet, what universe. Let me know where you at. Represent your hood. Yes, sir. A world of love to my Ukraine, an abundance of peace to my Ukraine. As I stand with God, I stand with Ukraine. Yes, sir. I seen this 2 days ago. And I'm still emotional about it, guys. I was going to do this reaction video yesterday. But I was busy. I was off yesterday. I didn't. It was my day off, and I had to do run a lot of errands. But I was thinking about this the whole day. I've been thinking about this since this morning, and I just can't believe it, guys. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I'm being pessimistic. U.S. officials says Ukraine agrees to peace proposal, as Zelensky says much work is ahead. Let's just take a listen, guys. Let's just take a listen. I hope this is not a mistake, guys. I really hope that this is not the beginning of the end. Let's take a listen, guys. Before we do, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the screen. Let's listen.
We are learning from a U.S. official that Ukraine has agreed to a peace proposal to end the war with Russia, saying that only, quote, minor details are outstanding now. The word from Ukraine's President Zelensky is much work still lies ahead. The country's national security chief, though, says its delegation has reached an understanding on the core terms of the deal. And there's also word that Zelensky could travel to the United States this month to sign it. But what about Vladimir Putin? Today, U.S. and Russian officials are meeting in Abu Dhabi to discuss the plan. A spokesman for the U.S. Army Secretary, who's leading the delegation, says that those talks are going well and we remain optimistic. While people are clearly talking, the war rages on. Both Ukraine and Russia trading deadly new strikes overnight. Let's get to the White House. Elena Treen standing by for us at this hour. With this new development and new reporting from this U.S. official, what are you hearing about this supposed deal?
Yeah, look, this has been a crazy twist and turns to this entire negotiation over the past couple of days, Kate. But I can tell you that the Trump administration and White House officials really want to use the momentum of these recent talks and negotiations to try and see if they can bring this to the finish line. And I think that's part of why you're hearing a lot of these very optimistic and positive statements from key players on the ground. We heard similar, I should note, from Secretary of Marco Rubio following those talks in Geneva on Sunday. But I just want to get into what this U.S. official told our colleagues, Oren Lieberman and Natasha Bertrand. They said that Ukraine has agreed to a deal to end the war with Russia. Only minor details remain. They said, quote, the Ukrainians have agreed to the peace deal. There are some minor details to be sorted out, but they have agreed to a peace deal. That is a huge deal. We should just note, I think, like, full stop. That is a huge deal if you...
Guys, it's a huge deal, but at what cost, guys? I'm going to be honest here. I'm not even going to lie. Is the Trump administration really looking out for Ukraine's best interests? Okay, I understand the Trump administration, they want peace. They want to stop the war. Trump wants to stop the war. He wants the war to stop. I get it, and I commend him for that. But at what cost? At what cost? Now, Ukraine signing a deal needs to be careful, because are you signing a peace deal or are you signing a surrender deal? Are you giving up everything? And something else is that Putin's resume is not to be trusted. So I mean, let's continue to watch, guys. I'm very emotional about this, guys. I'm very emotional, so I need you to please spare me here.
Ukraine is actually backing this plan. As you mentioned, of course, the big question is whether the Russians could actually stomach a lot of this. Now, this comes as the U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll is in Abu Dhabi. He's meeting with Russian officials today. Of course, the goal there to see how much they can get them to compromise on some of these areas that the Ukrainians seem eager to work on. I will note that Ukraine's National Security Secretary, Rustem Umerov, he wrote about this in a post on X. I want to read this for you because what we're hearing from this U.S. official does seem to go a little bit beyond the position of the Ukrainians. The National Security Secretary said, quote, "We now count on the support of our European partners in our further steps." He added that Ukraine looked forward to organizing a visit of Zelensky to the U.S. to, quote, "complete final steps and make a deal with President Donald." So look, we have to see where this all comes down to. But again, I want to just reiterate how pretty quick this came together, because I'd remind you last week when details of this plan were initially emerging, at that point it was a 28-point plan that Steve Witkoff, one of the president's top advisors, had been quietly discussing with the Russians. There was a lot of skepticism from Ukraine and also the United States, European allies about whether or not it was in many ways a wish list for Russia. There were concerns that there were far too many.
Look at this. No NATO troops in Ukraine. Ukraine's army size could be capped. Why would the Russians, if they want peace and they're not going to fight no more, no more war, why would they want Ukraine to minimize their army? Why? If we're not going to fight no more, why do I have to limit my army? So, I don't know. And then Ukraine to give some land to Russia. I get that, okay. I kind of get that. If that's what it takes to end the war, I guess because of all the people that are suffering. I'm not in Ukraine, so that's why I want my people from Ukraine to give me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. But as far as minimizing the army, that's fishy.
Sessions for the Ukrainians, not as many for the Russians, that it was too favorable. Now we're seeing, though, after a lot of these negotiations, particularly those in Geneva, as I mentioned on Sunday, it does appear that they were able to get this, working. We've heard Rubio call this a breathing document, this working deal to a place where the Ukrainians feel confident that they can go as far as this U.S. official is telling CNN today into agreeing to this deal. So big question now is whether they can take this to the Russians, get the Russians on board. And if that's actually a possibility, this could be a major breakthrough in something that has really been kind of, eluding the president and this administration for months now in their goal to finally find an end to this war between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, would be a major breakthrough for sure. The question about what's Russia going to do about it and say about it is also a huge question. Lena, thank you so much for the reporting. John?
All right, with us now is Senator Jeanne Shaheen, a Democrat from New Hampshire, the ranking member on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, what do you make of this? I mean, this is a U.S. official saying that Ukraine has agreed to a proposal. We don't know what proposal, frankly. We don't know if this is a proposal the Russians have agreed to, and we're not even sure how the Ukrainians feel about it other than the comment from the U.S. official. But what questions do you have?
Well, I think it's premature to suggest that there's a final deal, but I understand that good progress was made yesterday in negotiations, and we'll see how the Russians respond to taking some of the items off the table. The original proposal was obviously a Putin wish list for everything they want, including no Ukrainian option for joining NATO, no NATO enlargement in the future, capping the size of Ukraine's military. None of that should be acceptable to the United States, to the Ukrainians, or to the Europeans. So the devil is in the details here. We need to see what kind of security.
This lady is speaking like a champ. The devil is in the details. The devil is in the details.
Wish list for everything they want, including no Ukrainian option for joining NATO, no NATO enlargement in the future, capping the size of Ukraine's military. None of that should be acceptable to the United States, to the Ukrainians, or to the Europeans.
This is basically a surrender plan. It's not a peace plan. It's just like they're calling it a war. It wasn't a war. It was an invasion. And now, this is not a peace plan. This is a surrender plan. Why would you have to cap the military? Why can't, if Ukraine is getting to keep their sovereignty, then why is it that they can't join NATO? Why do they have to limit their military?
So the devil is in the details here. We need to see what kind of security guarantees are being provided to Ukraine, because what we've seen time and again is that Russia makes a commitment. They made a commitment not to go into Georgia. They went into Georgia in 2008. Then they signed the Budapest agreement in the 90s. They said, we won't attack Ukraine and they should give up their nuclear weapons. Well, they've attacked Ukraine now in Crimea. Then they went into Ukraine. So we can't trust what Russia says and what Putin says. So what we need is real security guarantees that are going to ensure that Ukraine is protected, that its sovereignty is protected in the future.
You said progress has been made. I guess specifically progress in what direction? What progress do you think there would need to be for you to support this and really for the Ukrainians to feel comfortable?
Think about it. If they agree to this, right? If they agree, this is why this is just a surrender. It's just a matter of time. This is basically to set them up to take over Ukraine, to set up the Russians to totally take over Ukraine. They can't join NATO, right? So if Ukraine can't join NATO, they're not protected at all. They're not protected. Oh man, this is crazy.
Well, again, I think we need to have real security guarantees, as I've said. I think any cap and any ability for Russia to determine how Ukraine's military moves forward is unacceptable.
Exactly.
Ukraine right now has the biggest army in Europe. They are the most technologically advanced. We want that army on the ally side fighting with Europe and the United States in any future conflict. So we need
This lady is talking like a champ. God bless her.
To make sure that that is protected. We need to make sure that Ukraine's sovereignty is protected, that Russia is understands that any attempt to go back in Ukraine is not only going to be met with European force, but with United States force. We also know that Russia is arming in a way that doesn't just allow them to go into Ukraine, but allows them to go after NATO countries and Eastern European countries. We need to make sure that
it doesn't end with Ukraine, because we know that it's not going to end with Ukraine.
That doesn't happen in the future, and there needs to be some accountability.
Exactly.
This idea in the original proposal that anybody who committed war crimes would not be held accountable for that. That's not acceptable. We can't allow an aggressor like Vladimir Putin to get away with that, because it then sends a message to China, to Iran, to North Korea, to our other adversaries.
That's right.
Look, we obviously need to see what is being discussed now, what exactly the plan is that's on the table. We'll find out more, presumably, over the next few hours. I want to rewind, if I can, 24 hours, because yesterday morning at this time, we were told that the White House might have a plan as soon as yesterday to extend Obamacare subsidies. They even floated some of the details of that plan, a 2-year extension, a cap on subsidies on income levels 700% above the poverty level, some basic required minimums there. Were this yesterday morning, and if that were the actual plan being discussed, how do you feel about that?
Now they're talking about Obamacare and some other stuff. I'm going to stop the video right there. But guys, this is basically a surrender plan. Guys, listen, in any way am I undermining our President Zelensky's decisions? I'm sure he's a smart guy. I'm sure he's probably desperate. You know, he's probably in a position where he's backed into a corner. His people want peace, but at what cost? So I know there's a lot of division. There must be a lot of division in Ukraine. Some people want the war to stop at any cost. Some people don't want the war to stop at this cost. Okay, so we have to be careful, guys. I think the next few months is going to be crucial. I don't like this peace plan, guys. I'm going to say this. This is a surrender plan. And what this lady here, she spoke like a true champ. There has to be accountability. There has to be accountability. Is Ukraine willing to take this proposal to acquire peace at the cost of its sovereignty? You have to minimize the army. You can't join the NATO. So then that means that Ukraine is no longer a sovereign country. Guys, I really want your opinion. My people from Ukraine, please let me know what you guys think. Please let me know what's going on. I'm just basically giving my opinion based on what I see. But I really want to hear from the people that are out there, the Ukraine, the people, the Ukrainians, the people that are being affected by the decisions of the leaders. So please let me know, guys. And of course, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the screen. May God bless Ukraine. Peace, love, and God bless.